Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to Mike MD's. My name is Mike, and today we're going to be talking about what is the most reliable Mini to purchase used. So today we're not going to talk about the original Mini from 1961 and British Motor Corps, but we're going to talk about the first, second, and third generation starting in 2000 built by BMW. So basically we're going to go over the pros and cons for all three generations, starting with the first generation built in 2000 all the way to 2006. So on this Mini, they came in an S and a non-S. The S is a supercharger, so that's what's different. It's the same motor, they just bolted on a supercharger, which gives you extra power. So the main things you want to watch out for on that car are you don't want to get an automatic with a non-S. So they had this special transmission called the CVT, and you definitely want to stay away from those. They had a high failure rate. There's some people that go out there for many miles without any issues, but working at the dealership, we did see a high failure rate on those, and they are astronomically expensive to replace. For a new one, it's actually more than the worth of the vehicle in a lot of cases. So you either want to get a manual transmission, or if you get the S with an automatic, it has a different transmission than that CVT, and it's a lot more beefier. It's a regular style transmission. Now there are a lot of other wear and tear items that normally go wrong on these cars, like window regulators, the mechanism that lifts the motor, bushings, brakes, the typical things that actually go wrong on all cars, a lot of European cars. But this main thing I'm going to try to focus on is issues that we see that are very costly and can actually leave you stranded. So the next thing on the Mini is going to be they did have some throttle body issues. It actually leave you stranded right in the middle of the street, and it would be hard to start again, and a lot of times you won't be able to start it, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and a lot of times it's intermittent, and sometimes it is hard to diagnose. But it's either going to be the throttle body or the wiring harness or the engine control module. So those two things on those cars were the biggest issues that we saw as far as costly things. So the transmission and also that throttle body issue, and many of them did have it. There's not really a way around it. Some people, like I said, they go 200 and 300,000 miles with not ever having an issue on those type of things. But those are just the things that we saw that came up. Otherwise, they're really good cars. The non-convertible is also a lot more reliable, just because you don't have to deal with squeaks, rattles. There's a lot of body twisting in there, and also you get a lot of wind noise, and then the seals, they just shrink over time, and you get a lot of water leaks too. So when you wash your own car or send it through, and on those cars, some of the water would run down the windshield and go to the back of the dash, and mess a lot of things up. So just certain things you want to watch out for. If you do get one of those cars, try to wash it by hand instead of taking it to an automated machine. Okay, for the second generation is in 2006 to 2013. They're really fun. They also had more power because they swapped out the supercharger for a turbocharger. So it's just a different way of providing extra power to the engine, and that was only on the S models. Now the big issues on those cars, and it's all over the internet, is oil starvation. So you'll do an oil service right at the dealer or wherever you send it, and by the time the oil service is due next time, which it shows on the dash when it's due, you actually run out of oil, and it won't let you know because there's no oil level sensor in the car. There's an oil pressure sensor, and usually by the time the oil pressure sensor comes on, it's too late. So you definitely want to watch out for that, and things to look out for are any kind of rattling noises coming from the engine, and always ask for service records if available if you're buying them from private party. They also had an issue with some of the fuel systems, including the high pressure fuel pump, which there is an extended emissions warranty on a lot of those. It's VIN number specific, and also some of the coolant items, specifically the water pump. They made out of plastic for some reason, but they did update that later. And there's also the thermostat for the car. They tend to leak quite a bit. So the water pump and the thermostat are two big leaking issues. But like I said, on both, they actually extended the warranty on a lot of the VIN numbers on the car. So you might luck out and get a mailer in the mail once you purchase the car. and if you already have this the repair performed, sometimes they'll actually, BMW will reimburse you for that. Going back to the oil starvation issue on the cars, there's no oil level sensor on there to let you know you're out of oil. So what happens is the damage that actually occurs is the engine will jump timing. It'll start running rough. You'll start hearing a rattle. But there is a repair for that. Another thing that you don't notice right away, which you'll probably notice in the next 5,000 to 10,000 miles, is because of that oil starvation, it does cause irreversible damage to some of the components, not right away, specifically the turbocharger. Just because the turbocharger, it has oil galleys that lubricate the turbocharger, and what it does is if it's starved for oil, it kind of overheats. And like I said, a lot of times it doesn't fail right away, it'll be later down the road, and that is also a pretty expensive repair. Overall, the cars are pretty good. They do have a lot more power compared to the first generation. And bonus, on 2011, they actually updated the motor and they fixed a lot of those issues that the previous cars had. So including they added variable valve timing, or actually variable valve lift, which they call Valvetronic. And basically what that does, what the issues that it solved were, it totally eliminated the carbon buildup issue that the cars have. It made it a little more responsive, a lot more smoother, also a lot more fuel efficient. So overall, it's a really good motor, and I would actually shoot for that. So 2011 and newer on that. So the third generation Mini is from 2014 to present, and it's all BMW now. So the previous ones were all collaborations, mainly BMW. They use different motors from different manufacturers, and they're both, the S and the non-S are both turbocharged. So the non-S is a 3-cylinder inline 3-cylinder motor, turbocharged. The S is an inline 4-cylinder motor, also turbocharged. And I haven't seen a lot of too many issues on those yet, just because there's still a lot of them out on the road with very low mileage, and a lot of them still under warranty. But like I said, it's all BMW now. The motor is BMW, everything is BMW. So you can probably expect the cost of repairs going up a little bit, just because of parts and labor and things like that, because it is all BMW. I would say it's probably the equivalent of servicing a like a bottom line or a lower line model of a BMW, possibly like a BMW 3 Series, probably be equivalent to the cost of servicing that car. So what it comes down to, and what we see is across the board is basically going to be these few things, which are going to be stick with a manual transmission if you can. They're a little more fun unless you're in a trafficy area, you can't help it, or you have a young one, or you just prefer an automatic, that's fine. Just do not get that first generation CVT, which is only in the non-S. Also, a non-S in general is pretty reliable, just because you don't have the extra bolt-on things to help the motor have that additional power, like the supercharger and the turbocharger. Though those just sound like one item, there's a lot of other items that are bolted on to make those systems work, and each one of those things, it can fail, and it's just extra things that cause potential hazard in the future. And also, if you can help it, stay away from the convertibles. Like I said, it just causes leaks, wind noise. The body isn't as rigid, so you get a lot more squeaks and rattles and feedback. It's just my personal opinion, what we see. The tops themselves are pretty reliable as far as operation goes. Another one is you want to definitely stay away, if you can help it, from any modifications. If you're purchasing a used one private party, try to stay away and ask them, are there any modifications to this car? The reason being is because a lot of people do certain things that can actually lower the reliability of the vehicle. And then also, if they have those additional things, you can bet they were driving the car a lot harder, because they're seeking that extra power and pushing the car to its limit. So obviously the car has been worked pretty good. So my choice, if I were to purchase a used Mini, I would personally get a second generation, which is from 2011 to 2015, with that updated motor that we were talking about earlier. An S, the reason why I would get an S is because you get the best of both worlds on that car. That motor is a lot more reliable than the previous one, and you get that extra power, so it's a really good balanced trade-off as far as performance and reliability. I think that's your best bang for your buck if you can pull that. And as far as transmissions go on that one, you can go either automatic or manual. They're both actually pretty reliable. Generally, a manual transmission will always outlast the automatic, mechanically speaking. There is a service item in there called the clutch. Everyone's heard of that pretty much. And that's a general across the board on any other car. If it has a regular clutch, it's going to need to be serviced, so that's not a big deal. Alright guys, so I try to keep this as simple as I could. I've done a video like this on the BMW. It was a little long, and it could get a little technical, so I just try to keep it easy for you guys. I hope this really helps you guys out. I'm going to make a link to the video of how to purchase a car like a pro, so hopefully that helps you out. And I really hope you enjoyed this, and I appreciate you watching, and I really appreciate if you like and subscribe and share. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and happy motoring to you.